we do have a guest, SP3. He's here. You know him from WWE. You know him from WCW as Johnny B. Bad. He has his book that is out. It came out in March. Marc Mero, From Bad to Good, the inspiring story of a wrestling wild man. You can get it now on Amazon. He is Marc Mero, everybody. Mark, how you doing?
Jeremy, I'm doing great. SP3, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, Mark.
We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, again, thank you for being here. Shout out to Kenny McIntosh for helping setting all this up. Kenny's a great dude and a pal of the show. How's everything been with the book now that it's out? How's the reception been to it?
It's been fantastic, man. You know, I toured England for a little bit, did 3 days over in England to kick off the book tour. And it was fantastic, man. I tell you, some of the UK fans are some of the greatest fans out there. And Kenny and Dante traveled with those guys and had a great time in different cities. We were in Aberdeen, we were in Manchester, we were in Newcastle. So it was fantastic. Every place was packed and sold a lot of books. And the book is doing really well. Just sharing honest stories from my heart, from things I went through in the past, and my hope for the future.
Oh, sorry, SP3. I thought you had something. All right, let's get into some stuff from your career. So I'm going to take you back to 1995. This is me. I was a WCW fan growing up. I lived in Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. So you guys ran the Scope all the time.
Yeah.
Big Johnny B. Bad guy. Loved your feud with Diamond Dallas Page and and Kimberly. So World War III. You faced DDP and beat him, and then you kissed Kimberly. Me, as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old in the crowd, I didn't quite understand what was going on when you held the card up and you blocked the view of what was going on when you were kissing Kimberly here. So my question to all this is just basically memories of the feud with DDP and working with him, and maybe influencing my childhood a little bit with what happened with that kiss.
Well, my apologies if it ever went south for you. But trust me, I got Dallas's complete authority to do that, okay? So the feud with Dallas was so much fun. He's one of my closest friends, and obviously we both have known each other for 30 years, and the feud we had in WCW was fantastic. We usually had the opening match on the pay-per-view, and our thoughts always were, let's steal the show, man. Let's have the best match on the card. And we would go down the power plant and work on our matches and our moves and things like that. We both become very improved in wrestling. I was one of the most improved wrestlers in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated voting, and he was also one of the best. And so we not only became great friends, but really challenged each other in the ring, outside the ring. And then after wrestling, with what he's doing to help people and what I'm doing to help people, it's just, he lives 20 minutes down the road from me. He just bought a new place in Florida, but he's half the year here. So we still challenge each other in his DDPY workouts and still killing each other, man, at our age, But getting back to the matches, I beat him for the money, I beat him for the girl, I beat him for the title. And our running joke is that, Dallas, there's 3 guys I probably wrestled more than anyone else in my whole career. The 3 guys were Diamond Dallas Page, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Triple H. And the joke we have with Dallas is that he never got to beat me. It never was in the cards for him to win one match out of all those matches we've had. Now, remember, people just see the pay-per-view or the television matches, but they don't realize we're wrestling each other almost every single night on the roads across the country, across the world, actually. So we had a lot of fun. And then when he was finally going to be able to beat me on the pay-per-view, I signed my contract with WWE and left. So unfortunately, he's still looking for that pinfall over me.
I was gonna ask because you did mention you wrestled Stone Cold Steve Austin so many times, and one of the more memorable ones was at the King of the Ring 1996, where Austin gets the, I think it's a jaw injury, and of course it's the night that everybody remembers for the Austin 316 promo. So kind of tell us your memories of that matchup, and was there any heat on you for Austin getting hurt in that match?
Oh, not at all. In fact, he credits me with him coming up with 316 only because of the fact that I kicked him in the mouth. He had to get I think it was 14 stitches. So because it delayed it, Jake was able to do a promo on him, and that's where it all started. But if I didn't kick him in the mouth, he never would have had time to come up with that and say that. That's what he told me. So, I'm going by what Steve's told me. I'm not making something up. And, but I loved working with him, man. He was a machine, and in the likes of Kurt Angle, he could go nonstop. So I always enjoyed working with him because I was always in pretty good shape in my cardio and stuff. But working with Steve, and not only working with him, but learning so much from him and Triple H. I mean, guys that were just great ring generals out there, calling the matches as the heel and just following it, but also having to change on the fly when things don't go exactly what you hope or the crowd's not reacting a certain way. Those guys know how to change things up and really make it exciting for the audience.
So there's a match that's listed, and it's you against Jushin Thunder Liger as part of Great American Bash Tour that never aired. And I'm wondering, does footage exist of this and any memories of that match of working with Liger? Because I believe that's the only time you two have been in the ring.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was going to wrestle Jushin Thunder Liger, I was so excited about it because, he's kind of a high flyer, man, and I like his style and everything. But for some reason, whether it was the language barrier or whatever, we never really connected. I don't know why the match didn't air. It wasn't that bad, but I was thinking maybe it didn't air because it was horrible. But it was just not one of my more memorable matches that I think we wrestled to a draw. I can't even remember what the finish was.
Yeah, it's listed as a 16-minute time limit draw.
Yeah, so, but I just didn't think, and even when I went over to Japan, because you're in two separate parts of the building, that the dress rooms are separated, and they have a translator go back and forth and say, hey, this is what he'd like to do, what would you like to do, and it kind of gets convoluted in the sense that it gets mixed up a little bit, or it isn't, and you can't really talk much in the ring because of the language barrier. So I always had trouble with the Japanese wrestlers, and it could have been my inexperience too, being fairly green when I first went over there. Remember I never even signed my first contract until I was 31 years old. I started when I was 30, and I had a lot to learn. But later on, I obviously, and then also seeing Brian Pillman wrestle Jushin Thunder Liger was one of the greatest matches around at that time, So thinking, man, I want to do this also. But I think I made up for it when I wrestled Brian in, I believe it was Fall Brawl. Fall Brawl 95 was one of my most memorable matches with Brian. It was a 30-minute match on pay-per-view.
I wanted to ask you about the Johnny B. Bad character, because I wasn't like a WCW kid so much because I grew up in New York, but my grandmother used to watch like WWF in the morning and then would turn on WCW at 6:05 p.m. So you were one of the first wrestlers that I saw on WCW around like 1994, 1995, and I thought that Little Richard was based on you as a character, but then I figured out that later on it was the other way around. But how did you or WCW come up with that character? And did you have to watch a lot of like the mannerisms and see Little Richard to kind of get the cues the way that you did with the character?
Well, it was a Dusty Rhodes brainchild that I'll never forget. When I was doing jobs for WCW, trying to get into the business, after one of the matches, he said to me, hey, does anybody ever tell you look like Little Richard? And I thought he was talking about a wrestler named Little Richard. And I said, I never heard of the wrestler Little Richard. He goes, no, not the wrestler. He goes, oh, wamp bamba loo bamba wamp bamba, the singer Little Richard. I go, oh, I never heard that before. He goes, oh, I think I got a gimmick for you. But it was really more so than watching. I did watch mannerisms of Little Richard, but it was Dusty Rhodes that really got it down, because he would meet me before the matches and show me how he wanted me to walk and talk and say this and say that. And I'll tell you, some of my fondest memories in wrestling was working with Dusty Rhodes. He was like my mentor, you know. He was the guy that came up with the character, so I spent a lot of time with him. And some of the funniest moments were watching him be me being Little Richard. And because, you know how flamboyant Dusty Rhodes was, you know. So he would, he'd say, now walk up to the microphone and say, I'm so pretty, I should have been born a little girl. And I get laughing because remember, here I am, a boxer from New York, coming in talking like I'm from Macon, Georgia, you know. So we would have so much fun with that. And then he'd say, oh no, do it like this, do it like that. And then I'd get it down and he'd give me a big hug, you know. And we'd have a lot of fun doing that. It was my favorite character, obviously. It's so different than who I am. So it was like playing a role every single night of this character that was so opposite me and talking like I'm from Macon, Georgia, you know. How's everybody doing? I'm so pretty, you know. So it was a lot of fun.
As I mentioned, World War III, 1995. That was the first WCW event, first pay-per-view, first wrestling event I'd ever been to. And I always thought the World War III gimmick was like really cool. 3 rings and 60 people overall. And then you go to the Royal Rumble where 30 people, timed entrances and everything. So I kind of want to get there's obviously big differences between the two, but I wanted from your perspective as someone who has been in both, like, what did you like about one thing maybe compared to the other, and what was something that may have been more difficult about one thing compared to the other?
The main thing about like the Royal Rumble is you just had to know when you were getting thrown out. Okay, so you knew the lineup. Like, let's say, for example, let me just say that Bob Holly and Dustin Rhodes were getting thrown out before me. Okay, so I'm constantly keeping my eye on those two guys, knowing that, you know, Bob Holly's going first and then Dustin's going next. Then I know it's my turn. And so you got to be ready to know when you're going out and keep an eye on it while you're still pretending you're in the corner trying to throw somebody else out. Keep looking over your shoulder to see when they're getting thrown out, because you don't want to miss your cue, because then someone's depending on you being thrown out that they're after you. So it was just constantly being aware of where you are, or who's getting thrown out, or when they're getting thrown out, or how they're getting thrown out. So you want to be kind of aware of that. So that was always kind of a little nerve-wracking sometime, except I think the time that Stone Cold came in and threw everybody out, it was like easy, you know, just get in line, you know.
I wanted to ask, because you've been in WCW in like the height of their run in the 90s, and WWF, like you said, you faced like Stone Cold and Hunter S. Helmsley, Triple H. Who is the one guy that you wished you could have been in the ring with, whether it from your WCW run or WWF run, that you kind of like came close to or couldn't be able to be in the ring with them?
There's a couple, and I was so blessed that I've wrestled everybody. I mean, Sting, Ric Flair, Undertaker, Triple H. The list goes on and on of all the guys that I got to work with that were amazing wrestlers. You know, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, Steve Regal, you name it, and I've been in the ring with them. But the guys that I didn't get to wrestle against, fortunately, I got to wrestle with as tag team partners, and that was Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels are 2 guys that I would have loved to work with. I think our styles would have really matched up well, and I think we could have had some really good matches. One of the matches I remember that I had a really good match with was Davey Boy Smith in South Africa that never got to air except over there, but it was a really great match, and beat him with the Wild Thing off the top rope until Owen Hart came in and hit me over the head with his cast. And of course, I won on disqualification. But matches like that were always a lot of fun. But I was just blessed to wrestle some of the greatest. And and being in wrestling at that time, the Attitude Era. Here I am. I remember I wrestled against The Rock, and you're looking in the dressing room. There's The Rock, there's Stone Cold, there's Triple H, there's Undertaker. It's like amazing to be in wrestling at that time, because there's still kind of household names in the wrestling community.
What was your experience like with New Japan? Because I think when people maybe see the Johnny B. Bad character, it's like, oh, I don't know how that's gonna fully translate to the New Japan style. So what was that tour like?
They really enjoyed the confetti gun and the throwing the frisbees and all the gimmicks. I try to make my entrance longer than my match, so I didn't have to memorize a lot. But the Japanese fans were great. They're just different than American fans. They would cheer if you made it to the rope, where American fans are like, oh gosh, it's not a big deal. They're big on false finishes, and they're very quiet audience, though, compared to the American audience. But once they find out what room you're in at a hotel, man, I'll tell you something. They're relentless to get an autograph, or if they caught some of your. I used to shoot out these what they call the bad bucks. Well, people don't realize that on television when I shot my confetti gun, I put real money in there, so people would go crazy trying to find it. But then when I would go to arenas, I had fake money printed with a picture of me, Johnny B. Bad, on it, $1,000 bill, and it says, "In Johnny we trust." I shoot that out. So they would collect all this confetti and stuff, and they wanted me to sign it, or whoever caught the frisbees would want me to sign it. So great fans. I mean, it was a lot of blessed to have done that. Again, one of those things where you look back on your life, you said, "I'm so glad I got to go all over the world." Many trips to Europe, South Africa, Southeast Asia, been everywhere, done everything. I mean, with Delta Airlines alone, I have 1.5 million miles with them. Just one airlines, and not considering all the other airlines that I've flown. So a lot of travel.
I wanted to ask you, because like you said, you've enjoyed your time as Johnny B. Bad, and I saw you there in WCW, and then saw you transition to WWF, becoming the Wild Man. But one of my favorite times of your career is when you were probably, in my eyes, the most underrated heel in WWE during the whole storyline with Sable. So how was that kind of experience, changing it up after so long of being a babyface and becoming such a hated heel in the business?
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun to do that. I mean, Sable and I were married at the time, and we would come up with ideas to just hate me more and more. And, just always putting her over, it's like always slipping on the banana peel type thing, dress her up in a potato sack, and she comes out and rips it off, and she's got a string bikini on, so every time we would do it. And Vince Russo was so instrumental in that too, because we'd be talking to Vince Russo all the time about things we could do and what we can't do. And we were really pushing the envelope, and especially when we did the pay-per-view where we did the painted hands on her boobs, and, so I remember Vince Russo coming in the dressing room, and we said, "Well, can we do this?" And he goes, "Oh my gosh," he goes, "I got to run this one by Vince." Of course, Vince was like, "Dan, we are really pushing the envelope, but go for it," So we had a lot of fun doing that. Obviously, the more heat I would get, but it also, was building me up as this heel that I was going to eventually work with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and because of the fact of getting her over so much and letting her power bomb me and kind of beat me up a little bit, it ruined my chances of working with Stone Cold, because he didn't want the perception of, if a girl can beat this guy up, why would I want to be in the ring with him? Which I could totally understand now, but at the time, man, she's making more and more money. Her merchandise is selling like second to Stone Cold. So why getting at least one of us was over major, and I'm getting a guaranteed contract at the time. So I'm making the same money whether I win or lose or whatever happens to me.
The shooting star press, you have, for my money, the prettiest shooting star press in wrestling history. And I know you're still doing it off the boat and everything. I've seen the videos. I've seen it.
Yeah, I know, brother. I got to tell you, I turned 65 in 2 months, and I don't know when I'll stop. I don't know. I just my body hasn't caught up to my mind. My mind is still thinking that I can still do these things, but so far I still can. But my brother's got this 2-story dock at his lake house, and we go there. We're there all summer. So when it's time around my birthday, let's go, man. Time to do the wild thing, the Mero salt, the double back flips or whatever we're doing. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. The Shooting Star Press, it was really, when I first got to WWE, I didn't really have a finishing move because remember, WCW, I'm doing the Tutti Frutti, kick your booty with my Tutti Frutti. And of course, it's a punch, and you really got to come up with something different. So I wanted to come up with something really unique that was different. And when I was in Japan, I think it was Jushin Liger, saw do a Shooting Star Press. It was one of the wrestlers, I can't remember who it was, but I thought that was Jushin Liger. But I remember thinking, man, it'd be really cool to do that. And I've always been a really good, diver on diving boards. I could do, 1.5s and 2s and stuff. So here I am thinking, and it's really nothing but a full gainer is what it's called when in gymnastics or whatever. But in gymnastics, you land on your feet. So I had my daughter, Mariah, enrolled in gymnastics. So I would take her gymnastics when I was off the road. And I remember going to her gymnastics school, and I said to their coach, I said, hey, while the kids are doing their calisthenics and stuff, can I use the pommel horse and a crash pad and practice a move I want to do in wrestling? And of course they said, sure, go right ahead. So here I am on the pommel horse. Now, remember, in gymnastics, you do a flip or double, you land on your feet and you put your hands up, Now here I am jumping off this thing and landing on my stomach. And now the kids are all starting to catch wind of this, and they're all staring at me going, to my daughter, what's wrong with your dad? He doesn't know how to land. And they're all laughing, but I'm like, yes, I got it, man. They're this guy's nuts. But anyways, I finally got it down. Because remember, you want to land with your hands and your knees and let your chest hit the guy's chest and not hurt him, because it's a lot of momentum coming off the top. And I'm 225 pounds, So I finally got it down. And the first pay-per-view we had coming up was SummerSlam. I never did it to a person in my life. I'm wrestling Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, at SummerSlam. And I said to Dustin, took him to the ring beforehand, and I said, listen, I want to try a new move today if you're okay with it. And he said, well, what is it? I go, I'm going to Samoan drop you near the corner. I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to do a reverse flip and land on you. And he looks at me, he goes, what? He goes, how are you going to land? I said, well, we're going to hit chest to chest. He goes, don't tell me no more, just go for it. And of course, I did it in the ring. And that was the first time I ever did it, ever on a person, other than the pommel horse. I never even did it on a person at the gymnastic thing. I always landed on my stomach on the pommel horse. But it was the first time ever, and of all times, picked SummerSlam to do it with, thank God, goodness, Dustin didn't mind it. And he was just such a good hand anyways, man. What a great guy he is.
So real quickly, SB3, your Shooting Star Press, when you do it off of the boat, off the dock, it's something running from a kid. It's something I look forward to every single year. I don't know if you know the basketball player Marcus Johnson. He was in White Men Can't Jump. He was, if you've ever seen that movie.
I seen the movie, but I don't remember. I mean, obviously he was one of the leads then, wasn't he?
No. He is the guy who was going to get his gun after they get
hustled. Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, he's an NBA Hall of Famer. Every year he posts a video of himself dunking. He's 69 years old. He's 69, can still dunk. So you, to me, are equivalent to that. Every year I look forward to when you're doing the Shooting Star Press, because I think of Marcus Johnson always wanting to do the dunk every year. So I thought I'd just let you in.
What's funny about that, Jeremy, is that every year that dock seems to get higher and higher. It's the same height, but I mean, I walk over and then I watch all these little kids that we have, our grandkids and nephews and nieces. They just run out little kids. They don't care. They're not afraid of nothing. And I get up there and it's oh my gosh, especially doing the wild thing is a little easier because I still got strong legs and I can throw myself up and flip and land on my feet. Because remember, you don't want to land on the water like you're landing on a wrestler. But the Mero salt is a little trickier because you jump, turn in midair, hit it, and if you over rotate, then you can really hurt yourself. And it's we have a depth finder anyway. So every year we take our boat out and we use a depth finder because a lot of debris can float in, like tree branches or something that you don't know are there. And when you jump that from that height, you're going in 8 or 10 feet into the water, so you don't want to hit anything. So we always use a a depth finder, but we hire a crew, scuba crew, that actually go in there and they pull out any debris or anything that might have floated in over the winter, just to be safe, because we got a lot of kids jumping out there too, so we want to be safe. But the water's like, man, 20 feet deep right there, so it's usually never a problem.
So this is, I would be amiss if I didn't ask this question, because a couple of years ago, you kind of told me that Santa Claus isn't real. Because like I said, when I was growing up, 6:05 p.m. Eastern time, my grandmother would put on WCW Saturday night, and you were her favorite wrestler. Why? Because she was like, you got this black brother, he's here, he's doing great on there. And then I found out that you are not African American. So I wanted to ask you, when did you realize that the fans thought you deserved a plate at the coach?
I got so many funny stories about this, because I tell you, I love the brothers, man. I tell you that the African American community was some of my biggest fans, So obviously they thought, and obviously I was tanned all the time, anyways, not like I am right now, but I always stayed in the sun or go to sunbeds or whatever, and I get really dark, anyways, And I'll never forget that. What happened was, back in the early 90s, there was a discrepancy between African Americans' pay and Caucasian pay. And they had a news crew coming, and they wanted to find out, they said, Johnny, are you black or are you white? Because there's a big controversy about it, And I said, am I black or am I white? What kind of question is that? All you need to know is I'm a bad man. And I would just use that, But the funny thing is I recently seen blackwrestling.com, or one of those websites. They had the top black intercontinental champions. They had me on there. So I wrote them a really nice thing going, listen, I so appreciate this honor, but I just got to tell you, I'm not an African American. And then the comments were so funny, because they go, you just ruined my childhood, Oh, but I mean, I tell you, it's because, obviously being associated with Little Richard, and it was just, I was blessed. I was blessed to have that character, to have that fun, and even going to like senior citizens homes. I did a lot of community work with Johnny B. Bad character, and I go to the senior citizens homes, and a lot of times they were, African American senior citizens home, and they just embraced me and loved on me, and I don't know, just I wish more people in the world could be like that just love each other, man. Just it's so important. I think Johnny B. Bad, the character, was really about love and giving back, and and it's really kind of how I've always been. Now, after wrestling, this is my 18th year speaking at schools, churches, and corporations all over the world. I mean, when people think, I mean, after wrestling, I have averaged 230 events a year at going everywhere. I spoke at schools in Guatemala. I spoke at schools in Russia. I mean, you can get into Russia now, and I would speak at schools in Russia. And it's the same reaction as here in the United States. The kids want hope, man. Kids just want to feel like they're loved, that someone cares, and that there's hope. And we live in a really tough world, and this smartphone has outsmarted us, guys. It really has. It's really sad how people are so committed to what other people think about them or what people say about them, as opposed to believing in themselves. You have no idea the power you give yourself when you believe in you. And that's what I try to bring to schools is hope, and to follow your dreams, your goals, pursue it. I mean, how many things on social media, success stories, are we going to watch on social media before we go out there and make our own? They're no different than us. You either build your own dreams or you work for someone to build theirs. And I often tell people, how bad do you want it, man?
Getting to the book, I want to know sort of what the process was of putting the book together, writing the book, and kind of how you found it.
Well, Ben Veal is my co-writer, and he's an award-winning writer. He's just an amazing guy, amazing friend. Well, I was over in the UK doing an autograph session a little over a year ago, and I met him there. And we got talking. He goes, and he really wanted to write my story. And I've always wanted to do an autobiography. I wrote my first book, How to Be the Happiest Person on the Planet, back in 2004, I think it was. 14. It was a long time ago. 2008. 2010, I wrote that book. So 2010, so you're talking 14 years ago, I wrote my last book. I've always wanted to do an autobiography. And we started, working together, and we started, because he lives in England and I live here. So we would do Zoom calls. We'd speak for over an hour, and I would tell him a story. And when he wrote the story and I read it back, I go, oh my gosh, I couldn't put that into words better. And I shared some really deep, dark secrets about my life and things I went through that I never thought I would share, but I wanted to, only because, guys, we all go through adversity, man. We all go through situations in our hearts that we've gone through, our broken heart, loss of a loved one, a divorce, all these things that I've experienced in my life that, man, if I could share my story and give someone else hope that there's light after the darkness, man. Our current trials can be our future testimony. And that's what I wanted this book to be. Not only share my stories about what I went through and what I was thinking and the hardships I went through, but I wanted to give people hope and to know that they're not alone, they matter, and that life can get better, and it will get better. You have to believe that.
What's been the feedback so far from the people that have read the book to you? CP3, it's been amazing. I've been blown away by it. I mean, we got almost all 5-star reviews on Amazon, and it's a fairly thick book. I mean, this book it's almost 400 pages, so I share a lot of personal stories in it, from everything from my drug dealing days to my giving my life to God, to becoming an ordained minister. In fact, today is the anniversary of me becoming an ordained minister 12 years ago. So there's so much ups and downs in my life, man, and I just want to continue going up. But we all go through the valleys. No matter how good your life is, we go through valleys, man, and things unexpectedly happen in life. And it's about, it's not so much about your circumstance or situation. It's how we respond to it that makes all the difference. And I've learned to have a whole different response to adverse situations, because we're all going to go through trials in life, man. Life's not easy. And I tell it to students. You guys don't realize that life is not easy, and you're going to go through some hard times, but it's overcoming those adversities that really make you special in life.
So before we let you go, Mark, we play a game here on the channel. It's called Partner Promo Punch in the Face. I'm going to give you 3 names. You're going to pick 1 to partner with, 1 to have a promo battle with, and 1 to punch in the face or have a match with.
If I pick promo, do I have to give a promo?
Yeah, you can do the Johnny B. Bad character. You can do the Marc Mero character. Whatever character you want to do.
Okay. I'll do this Johnny B. Bad. Okay.
Oh no, you don't have to do the promo now if you want to.
Okay.
We've actually never had it.
No, go ahead. Okay, so it's promo, punch in the face. What's the other one?
Partner,
promo,
yeah.
Punch in the face. Okay, got it. Let's go.
Yeah, if you want to cut a promo on this person, you'd be the first person to do it. So
I'm starting a whole new thing on your program, guys.
That would be something. You know what? We got to start getting people to cut promos on people now. If whoever they pick promo.
He just blew up the whole game.
I know,
man. 3 names you're very familiar with: Diamond Dallas Page, Steve Austin, and Triple H.
Okay. Which one do we do first? Does it matter?
Oh no! Whoever, again, you can pick one.
You can choose one to partner with, one to do a promo against, and then 1 to punch in the face, have a match with.
Oh,
whichever order you want.
Man, I got to go with one of my closest friends, Diamond Dallas Page. I want to partner with him because we have, in some crazy ways, have partnered. A quick story about Diamond Dallas Page is that when I used to live in Florida for 25 years, and now I live 20 minutes down the road from DDP. And when I used to live in Florida, when I'd come into Atlanta to speak at schools, I would stay at DDP's home. So, DDP had he has the DDPY. He has a whole film crew. He has a lot of employees, So when I was doing schools near him, he said, "Hey, do you mind if the guys come out and film you?" And I get photo and video releases from each school I speak at. So I said, sure, they're welcome to come. So he has his film crew go down and film me at one of the schools. And a few days later, Dallas calls me up and he says, "Hey, bro," he goes, "these guys put together this 5-minute video of you talking about your mom. Do you mind if we put it on YouTube?" He goes, "You never know, might go viral." Sure enough, that thing blew up, millions and millions and millions of views. And not only that, when it went up, my first month we had 3,000 booking requests to speak at schools, churches, and corporations all over the world. It like blew up, and my company blew up, and I've been doing that ever since. But I got to give credit, and that's why partnering with DDP, the most positive guy I know, other than myself, is just a light in this dark world, man. And because of him filming that video, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, it's about a mother's love, and it's just gone viral. But I share it at schools, at every school I go to.
All right, so you're gonna partner with DDP. You got to either punch Triple H or do a promo with Triple H, and then the other one will be Steve Austin.
Okay. I got to punch Triple H in the face. I hate to say it. For some reason, he never really liked me. I don't know why, but we always had good matches too. But I just think that there's maybe some animosity when I left, or when I first signed with WWE. Remember, I was the first one to get a guaranteed contract, and I didn't sit well with a lot of the guys. And I'm so proud of what he has done with wrestling. Not just himself becoming a multi-time world champion. In fact, his first belt he ever won was off of me. It was the Intercontinental title, was his first one. But just to put away the animosity, let me punch you in the face, let's become friends, man, okay?
I still haven't forgiven Mr. Perfect for helping him win that.
There you go.
I still remember that.
And he hit me, and Perfect hit me with a pretty good chair shot, too.
Yeah.
And thinking, I'm going to go into a program with Mr. Perfect. I was the happiest guy to get hit by that chair. And, of course, he jumped ship and goes to WCW, so that ended that.
And promo against Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, my God. I got to do a promo on Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, probably one of the greatest that ever laced his boots. I mean, he should be on the Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. But if you remember when you were Stunning Steve, we had a tuxedo match. That's right. You remember that, Steve? A tuxedo match. And the idea of a tuxedo match is you have to rip off the other person's clothes. I remember when you and I were sitting in the dressing room talking about our match, thinking we got to tear off each other's clothes. We both look like, what the hell did we get ourselves into? I'll never forget that day, Steve. I'm so proud of you for what you have accomplished in your life, man. You're one of the best, and I was honored to share the squared circle with you. Even though I beat you a lot of times for that U.S. title, I never got the belt because you always won on disqualification, you son of a gun. But I did get to beat you for the Intercontinental title when I won it. You were one of the guys I beat. I got to beat you, Owen Hart, and Ron Simmons to win the title. So thank you for that, buddy. You always did business, and you did business right.
It's pointed out to us in the chat that you wrestled Triple H 75 times in a 10-month span. That's absurd.
It is. It is. And you know what? I tell you, I was 76 times. I probably won, I would guess, around 50 of those. I'm guessing. Okay. Does it have a record of that or no?
Yeah, let me. I will check and see. I gotta pull it up as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. When he was the champion, you won a lot by DQ when he was the champion,
right?
And it's close early or late, but early. Oh yeah, you destroyed him early. Like all of 1996, I don't think he beat you at all. It's not until you get kind of into late 1996 that he starts winning.
Man, Fightful really keeps some amazing records here. I didn't really know any of this.
Shout out to Cage Match. I'm on Cage Match right now. Cage Match is the keeper of all of this.
I always enjoyed wrestling Triple H, though, man. What a talent he is. You know, the guys I learned from, man, like Triple H, Steve Regal, Stone Cold, guys I got to wrestle over and over again were just DDP. The list goes on and on. Brian Pillman, man, so many guys that I learned a lot from in the ring. Arn Anderson, my gosh, he was so much fun to wrestle.
I have to ask about the Arn Anderson match, the boxer versus wrestler match, which is an insane concept. But what was it like putting that together? All
the credit to Arn Anderson. I tell you, he he could be the most underrated wrestler out there. I know he's great, and everybody knows, anyone that worked with him knows how great he is. But I don't think he ever got the due he deserves as one of the best. Really, one of the best. Obviously, I'm wrestling, fighting him I got gloves on, and he's wrestling me, and we had to come up with a concept that would look halfway decent. And for somehow we made it work, and he got a bucket put over his head. I hit him with the Tutti Frutti and got the win. But if you watch that match back, the way his head spins around with that bucket on, it was so funny. And he took some really good shots. I mean, when I first worked with I actually shared this story in my book too. When I first got to work with Arn, they put me on the road with him because they wanted to teach me. Remember, I'm green. I signed the contract. I only had like 3 or 4 matches in my whole life. You know what I mean? I mean, I was so green. And they put me on the road with Arn at one point to teach me. And I remember Arn, he was one of the funniest guys in the locker room too. I mean, he had a sense of humor that was just the best because he was one of those straight men that he would not laugh at his own jokes. He'd say, "Man, Johnny B. Bad doesn't know the difference between a wrist lock and a wristwatch," And he always had funny lines about me. And I remember, and I shared this one too in my book, was that I think it was Nick Patrick was our referee, and when the referee separates you, he's kind of third man in the ring that tells you what the next spot would be from the other wrestler. And he said, "Arn told me to tell you, punch him in the face as hard as you can." I thought, why would he say that? And I go, "What does he mean?" He goes, "He told me to tell you your working punch is killing him." So he just wanted to get it over with, Anyways, guys, I tell you, there was some great memories in wrestling, and I just noticed my battery's about to run out here on my computer. I hope I gave you guys enough time today.
Oh, we appreciate it. Kenny said 30 to 40 minutes, so we appreciate that we've gone a little bit over that. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you guys are a lot of fun, man. Thank you for having me on your show, and please, anyone that has not gotten my book, Bad to Good, please go to Amazon.com and order it. You'll be thrilled to read it. It's people that have read it said that they picked it up, they couldn't put it down. So check it out. A lot of good stories in there, and I just want to bring hope to people that have gone through some hard times, just like we all do.
And anywhere else anybody can find you at, Mark. Please promote anything you have to promote.
You know what? Go to my my YouTube channel, youtube.com, the Marc Mero, or just type in Marc Mero, and I'm over on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X. I'm all over the place. Just type in my name, you'll find me. And if you write to me, I'll do my absolute best to get back to you.
There you go. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for
so much, guys.
Thank you for your time today. Thank you.
You guys are awesome, man.
Well,
thank you. I'd love to do it again sometime.
For sure. We appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.